What's going on, everybody? Adam and Michelle from Adam and Michelle Carey, and I hope you like the island music because our guests are coming to you from Hawaii.
Hawaii.
You gotta say I think they'll have to correct me, but I think you gotta say Hawaii.
Yeah, that's how you say it.
From the island of Lanai. So we are.
That's like the most awesome island.
I put in island music on YouTube, and this one had over 1 billion views. So I figured it had to be a hit, right? So we are so excited that you're here. We're going to bring on our special guest here in just a minute, make sure technology is working. But, put a comment in. Let us know where you guys are tuning in from. We've gotten a lot of messages saying this is a meeting night. Some are watching the debate. And you need to be listening to this, not watching the debate, because this is going to – I know a lot has stuff to do with your future too, but this is how you can take control of your future. So, Michelle, what are you excited about tonight?
Man, I am excited because this is probably our most successful, maybe one of the most successful people that we've had the ability to interview, which is super exciting. And it's just, my heart is full because they're just so generous with their time. I'm sure they are super busy. And so I'm just excited to get like all the knowledge that they have and just like put it to action. Yeah.
So I think I shared this observation last week. If you're not familiar with who we are, because we actually extended some special invitations. This is a private webinar for some of our clients that purchased our Undercover Recruiter product. And we put together 4 bonus webinars. We're calling them the 7-Figure Secrets webinar. So each guest we're having on is a 7-figure earner, and they're just, it's like a golden, what do we call it? Like a gold nugget buffet. Like you're just gonna eat tonight from some wisdom and little nuggets.
Like it's not a chicken nugget buffet.
Yeah, and some of what you're gonna hear, you're gonna be like, I've heard that before. Well, there's a reason. Like our business is so simple. And I'm gonna turn off the Hawaiian music. I'll bring it back on when we bring our guests. But so again, we're just excited to learn from those that have gone before us. Michelle and I, we've been in the network marketing profession for almost 9 years. And about a year ago, we launched our own personal training brand, AdamandMichelleCarey.com. We wrote a best-selling book called Don't Be That Guy. It was actually done by accident. It's just amazing what happens when you take some action. And we really have a heart to come alongside you as an entrepreneur and help you accelerate success and alleviate rejection. What I love about this couple is they are huge advocates of building the business the right way, treating it like a profession so we can elevate the profession.
I think they call it ethical network marketing.
Yeah. And so I'm excited for them to dive into that because I would imagine over the years they've seen some doozies, some stories, they've some stories to share.
Yeah.
And so if you got invited here as a special guest, thank you for joining us. It's nice to meet you. You can later go on to AdamandMichelleCarey.com if you want to follow our training. We've got a lot of free content, and you can also find us on Facebook where we do a Facebook Live 4 days a week. And right now we're doing a study. So it's 6:01. I don't want to waste any more time. And let me find our special guest, and I'm going to share the stage. Do you see him? Okay. So Kimmy, Brooke, and Richard, the stage is coming to you. You should see a pop-up, and we'll be able to see you on video momentarily. So I gotta get the song going for him.
Yeah, makes me want to go to Luau.
Hey, hey!
Nice and sunny.
Wow, it's sunny.
It's really sunny out there.
Can you guys hear us? Okay.
Hi, you guys.
I got island music for you. I don't know if you like
we
this
love
one.
it. Can you see us and hear us okay?
We can hear you perfectly. I was looking for a lei here.
We actually have a ukulele.
We don't. You want to scoot back a little bit?
Yeah.
Leis aren't really easy to find in Sacramento, California. So I guess we're just going to have to come visit you to get one. But thank you guys so much for joining us tonight. Where are you? Are you on the patio or at a restaurant? Or?
Oh, yeah, we're just at a cafe. We thought we'd just sign in from a cafe. No, I'm kidding. We're on our patio. We'll give you guys a little quick panoramic of our view.
Oh, my goodness.
What?
Hey, you guys should comment. What do you think about that? I think this network marketing thing works. I don't know.
We might move over to a shadier spot so you guys can see us. Give me 1 second here.
Okay. Take your time.
I think it'll be a lot easier if you see us from over here. Honey, why don't you come on over here?
Wow.
Is that a little bit better?
That's perfect.
Yeah, that's great lighting.
That's good lighting right there.
Wasn't Lanai the island that you had the best fish and chips of your life?
Yeah, was it at the golf course?
Yeah, it was at the golf course.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know if it was
their life.
Really?
It was the bomb.
Okay, so let us get a little situated here. Sorry, guys.
You get a glass of wine.
Glass of wine.
Whatever it takes.
No.
That's good for me.
Network marketing life.
Sorry, you guys have to cuddle with our webinar platform a little bit, but
Yeah. How's that?
No,
that's perfect. See, we got a little, you cuddle.
Yeah.
It's all good. It's all good. So, yeah, we're just excited to have you. We got a bunch of questions, and we told everybody that you gave us 6.5 hours of your time, so we're going to just utilize that.
Perfect. Marathon session.
What's that?
Marathon session.
Yeah. So for those that are joining us on the webinar, a lot of folks are going to catch the replay, but you can comment. We've got questions already lined up for both Richard and Kimmy. So if you have a question, you can type it in. And if we have time, we'll kind of do a first come, first serve. And there's also a link. If you go to the offers tab, there's a link that takes them to Bliss Business where you can learn all about them. You can get Kimmy's new book, which we're going to talk about, or you can get one of Richard's books and just learn about what they're doing for the profession. And there's even a little poll that we would love to know what you fear most in your business. If it's rejection, what people think. We're just doing that for fun. Or maybe you've crushed fear and it's a thing of the past. We'd love to know that too. So, Michelle, any other housekeeping before we get started?
Let's go ahead and dive in.
All right. So I got a bio for you guys that's like 8 pages long, but I had to shorten it down. And I want to read from this because I want people to know who they're hearing from tonight. So, Richard, I haven't heard much from you. I just want to make sure you're good. You there?
Most of those 8 pages mine.
It wasn't a felony rap sheet. So let's see. So both Richard and Kimmy Brooke, so they're coming to you guys from the island of Lanai out in Hawaii. But together they share a vision to both educate and promote ethical network marketing, which I am so grateful for because we need that. And they're helping network marketers all over the world. They're authors, they're speakers, they're mentors, and they're also owners of a very successful network marketing company. So this is awesome. You're the first owner that we've gotten a chance to interview. So that's pretty fun. That's gonna be exciting to both hear your perspective from the field, but also from the corporate side. And last year they were on the cover for the March and April edition of Networking Times. So you can find that online. Now, Richard, you've been in the business 40 years, and you're a former member of the board of directors of the DSA and also a senior member of the DSA Ethics Committee. And you're the best-selling author of Mach 2 and also the 4-year career. So we've got the 4-year career here. If you guys have not read that, jump online. You can go to blissbusiness.com and get that. And probably one of my favorite things you do, Richard, is the Super MLM Man. I think it's time for a new episode.
It is.
And we're going to talk a little bit about fear later, but it's obvious that you could care less about what people think when you do the MLM Man. So that's pretty awesome. Now, Richard went from butchering chickens at Foster Farms to making his first $1 million in network marketing before 30 years old. That was just last year, right? Now, Kimmy was a stressed out single mom who did not see her daughter as much as she wanted because she worked 60 hours a week. I know a lot of us parents can relate to that. We've got a 2.5-year-old. We're grateful that we found network marketing before we had her. Now, if you fast forward for Kimmy, 4 years into her business, she built a team of over 20,000 distributors in 12 countries, and now they live a life of freedom, making memories on the beach. And she just released, congratulations to you, Kimmy, your new book, The 4-Year Career for Women. I love this tagline at the bottom. Put your future in your own hands, or not. Or not. It's up to you.
Great,
it's in your own hands.
Yeah.
And, there's so many more things that we could say about you guys, but we would rather hear it from you. So just to give you guys an opportunity to share, I know we shared a little bit of your story, but feel free to share anything you want about your journey so far in the profession, but also a little bit personally, like you got a passion, you got a hobby. We want to know you as people, not just what we can get from you in the form of training. So like, fireside chat, like tell us a little bit about you guys. And if you want to start, ladies first, Go for it.
First, that's
Ladies
so
first.
great. Well, let's see. I've now been involved in network marketing for almost 8 years. I can't believe how fast those 8 years have gone by. And, you know, when I got started as a single mom and I was working 60 hours a week at my daughter's private school, I wasn't out looking for something more because I didn't have any extra time on my hands. And so when my sister introduced me to network marketing, I didn't say, oh my gosh, this is it. This is the answer, even though I was looking at moving in with my mom at that time. And so for me, what happened is I just started kind of going through that, you know, you guys have that feeling when you get the bug of like, what if I could actually spend the weekends with my daughter and be happy? What if I could take her on a fun trip here and there? What if? And so those what ifs equaled up to me just hopping on in and not seeing a presentation, not really understanding the network marketing model, but wanting something different for me and for my daughter. And so the best thing that could have ever happened to me as I got started was I was recommended to read Jordan Adler's book, Beach Money. Yeah. And, you know, because in that book, he talked about meeting with people. I think he did it on a coffee break, sparked the idea for me that I could meet people on my lunch hour. And that was really the only time I had in my day, an extra hour a day. And so when people tell me that they're really busy, I say, that's fantastic. Do you have 30 minutes to an hour to put into your business? Because you can create a big business on an hour a day. And so that's what I did. Every day for 3 months, I went to my lucky lunch spot up in Honolulu. It was this great little Thai restaurant. And I would go there and meet with a new person every single day to share my passion, my excitement. And you know what I found is people always say, well, what did you say? And it wasn't what I said that got people excited. It was my excitement. And I think one of the greatest things about, you know, Richard's hero calls, when he asks people, well, what got you to say yes? It's never the perfect invitation, right? It's just the energy of the person who's invited them to look, or, you know, possibly they get shared the products and they fall madly in love with the products, but it's never exactly what was said. So for me, it was just that I was so over the moon that I now all of a sudden was looking at a new life for me and my daughter. And that was really how my business launched, being consistent every day for those first 3 months in my business.
That's good.
That's
so you were
really
a
good.
network marketing lunatic, right?
Totally experienced with my hair on fire.
Yeah, that's so good, Kimmy. I want to mention one thing. She mentioned the Heroes Call. For those that are not familiar, Richard hosts a podcast called Network Marketing Heroes. You can get a ton of great interviews. I had it on my list here, and we just had too much to cover, so we just jumped in. But appreciate that. Richard, what about you, buddy?
You want to hear about hobbies and passions or business?
Just a little bit of both.
Yeah.
Like, what makes you guys tick? You know, like obviously you're enjoying the fruits of your labor. You guys still work hard, but you know, I can already tell you hate the beach. So
Well, I'm actually not a beach guy. I'm more of a golf guy, but we are fortunate to have discovered one of the great paradises of the world. Fortunately, it's in the United States, and people can live here. And so, well, my story is 40 years old. I got started at the age of 22, 1977. If you want to date, probably before a lot of people were born. The business is different back then. You know, if you think about, like, this is how I'm gonna date it. We didn't even have fax machines.
what's a fax machine?
Yeah, so it's sometimes hard for people to imagine, how did you do the business before conference calls, webinar, email, social media? We did the business the old-fashioned way. We talked to people one-on-one. We had actual meetings in hotels and living rooms, and it was a different business model to an extent, but maybe more manual labor, but it worked. And it took me a couple of years to figure out how to do it, so I really failed forward for a couple of years. And then I kind of got it together and built a great team and went on to run the company that I built in for 2 or 3 years. And then I ran another company that I ended up owning for 30 years, still own it. And then we started a new company 6 years ago. So that's the fast forward 40 years. I'm still a distributor at heart, even though a company owner. You know, Kimmy and I still build. We prospect people every day. We love the island of Lanai because, you know, very interesting people come here for a week or two.
Yeah.
and they stay right down the, we're on the 18th tee box. The Four Seasons Resort is right here at the end of the golf course, and people come there and pay $1,000 a night to hang out in our paradise for a week or two. And so it's actually a really good prospecting setup, because when we meet them and talk to them, everybody goes, well, where are you from? Where are you from? And people say, well, where are you from? And we live here.
People eyeballs go, you live here?
He said, I built
for work to be able to live here.
I built pyramids for a living, and I get to live here.
All those pyramid things? Well, I'm on top of a really big one.
Come on. Hey, I know Michelle's got a question she's itching to ask you,
Yeah.
but just a golf question. We stayed at the Four Seasons for one night when we were visiting Maui. We took a boat over. We got to stay there. I didn't golf, but if I could only play one round, would you play the ocean course or the mountain course?
Well, I have to say the ocean course. This is the only golf course in North America where you have an ocean view on every hole.
Oh my goodness.
So it's really pretty. Right over here, a couple hundred yards from our house, was where Bill Gates got married on the 12th tee box.
Wow.
Really, really stunning. And golf is one of my passions. I love the mental game of golf. I love No Limit, Texas Hold'em. I fly helicopters, and I love network marketing and teaching people about the wealth building model of residual income.
Come on, that
Awesome.
that golf answer is going to transform lives right there. That was
Put that on your.
that was for
board.
my buddy John that's watching over in Texas. He's
But I have to let John know that actually you wouldn't be able to play up at the mountain course right now because they've closed it. So right now you can only play down at the ocean.
oh,
Yes.
all right.
Oh man.
I'll cancel my trip then. I'll rebook it.
Well,
Right.
before I get into my other question, I want to know, Kimmy, what are your hobbies? Do you love to golf, or what do you like to do in your spare time?
Golfing?
Oh, I love golf.
She has golf clubs.
I have golf clubs and I have all the outfits. That's what I can say about golf. And I've got a swing, but I can't really hit that ball. So my favorite thing is the ocean. And that's why Lanai, as you pronounce it here, is such a perfect fit for Richard and myself, because he gets to golf and I get to go walk down this beautiful trail every day to jump in the ocean. And I really kind of consider myself a little bit of a mermaid, and the snorkeling here is unbelievable. If you guys remember the snorkeling, and we actually have there's whales during the winter season, but dolphins that come into our bay right here. And so we get to hop in the water and swim with wild dolphins, and it really is just a magical place.
Wow. Living in paradise. So I have a question that stemmed off of what you were saying, Richard. When you started the business, it was entirely different than what we have access to now. And there's a lot of people that don't like to do the belly to belly. They just want to do online. And what's your take on balancing both? Is it still good to do the belly to belly, or can we just build a business entirely on social media and webinars? What's your take on that?
Well, I have met some people that have successfully built their entire team on the internet, social media. I don't know how to do that because I'm a relationship guy, and for me it's about leadership and contribution and relationship, and that all happens in touch points. That doesn't happen from like a social media exchange. And so I don't know how many of those organizations somebody could say, well, I built this and it's withstood the test of time. It's withstood adversity in the company. So I'm only in this for the forever build. I'm not in this to earn like, okay, yeah, we made $500,000 last year, but what we built in or how we built it isn't tested against adversity. So every company that's a long-term player, from Amway all the way down, if it's a 10, 20, 30-year-old company, all of those companies have gone through extraordinary adversity. And so I think the question you got to ask is, what are you building? Are you building an income or are you building an asset? You're building an asset. Your income has to withstand adversity. It has to withstand even evolution of the business. It has to withstand fads. It has to be a product that people are looking to buy 20 years from now. Otherwise, it's just an income and probably going to go away at some point. And you can't live in Lanai if you're worried about your income going away. So I think that the beauty of the high touch, high tech is that you can use the internet to scale. What we couldn't do 30 or 40 years ago was get in front of however many people we're in front of today. We couldn't do that. The most you could get in front of is however many people would show up to a hotel meeting. And, that might be 10 people, it might be 100 people, but it's not 5,000 people. And, even to record something was cost prohibitive. So, and if you recorded it, you ended up on, you had a VHS videotape that cost $25 to duplicate and send to somebody. Hey, so what I think we have the opportunity of today is we can scale with social media and internet. We can get the reach. We can connect with people. We can, get in front of people. But if you want to build something that'll withstand the test of time, you got to develop relationships. You got to contribute to people. And it's kind of like the analogy I like to use is dating. So if you met somebody online and you chatted, you develop some quality, let's say on a scale of 1 to 100, some quality of a relationship with that person. And then maybe you get on a Skype with them or something where you can actually see them. That rating goes up. The level of that impact of a relationship goes up from maybe a 10 to a 30. And if you actually talk to somebody on the phone, it might go up again. But just imagine when you got in front of them, when you actually met somebody and you're heart to heart, soul to soul, mind to mind, or even if it's for an hour, it goes off the charts in terms of the quality of your relationship. So if you're going to use technology to scale, use your heart and use your presence and your contribution and your leadership with people to have them never forget you. That's how you
I've never heard that example. I've never heard that. I've never thought of it or heard that example. It's probably pretty hard to have kids through Skype. But
I want to
have fun and be sarcastic.
I want to add really quickly to the building, online and stuff. I mean, the relationship aspect is so important, but you mentioned webinar, and that is one way that I was able to build my team all around the world effectively, where in old school days, you just simply couldn't do that. And so, doing presentations online and leveraging yourself. So, but it came from my personal relationships. So especially friends I knew in college who had ended up in different areas of the world, they could hop on bringing their friends, and then boom, all of a sudden my teams were up and running all over the place. So there definitely is a very powerful place for social media and the webinars and the technology. But as Richard mentioned, what it boils down to is those relationships. And I have to say that for me personally, and I know that there are some people who have built huge organizations just online. For me personally, my teams that have really lasted the test of time have been those people where I had that personal touch. Maybe I met them even in an airport for 2 hours or 30 minutes, but really getting that connection face to face seems to me, as well as Richard, to hold the test of time.
That's really good.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
We're just going to keep firing questions at you guys. I love to study leaders, like just to watch them. When I'm at events, I just watch how they carry themselves, what they do, how they're different. I'm just curious because you're both very driven. You've been very successful. It's right in your DNA. But if you had to just identify something, because it gives us something to emulate, as a leader, what would you say, what makes you different? Like what qualities? Do you have anything that comes to mind, or that's people pointed out, or that you've really, you could attribute to what's taking you to where you are?
I'll go first. I think for me personally, I mean, the gift that Richard and I both have is we love people, and it's not fake. It's real. It's authentic. Yeah. And so we really love connecting with people. I mean, I met you in the women's restroom, and we connected. And
I still remember that. It was amazing.
And so I think that quality for people, you know, when you meet someone and you feel like you're the only person in the room and they talk to you and they really care about who you are. And so the people walking by, it's not important. So you don't feel like they'd rather be speaking with somebody else, but really focused on you. For me, that quality in events, in leadership is just huge. And so, you know, if that's not a quality that's authentic and true for you right now, that's a quality you can easily build your skill around. But you guys know what it feels like when someone's talking to you versus they feel like they want to be checking their phone. And there's nothing that makes you feel smaller than somebody who doesn't want to be in a conversation, or they're not listening because maybe somebody bigger and better is walking by in the background. So for me, that's just a huge piece of leadership that you can exhibit as you're out and about at events.
That's really good.
So you made me feel
Walking
really
slowly.
guilty. I have all my questions on here tonight, so I'm not texting or I'm reading
I
my
know.
questions. So
We ran out of ink.
just letting you know. Do you have a question?
No.
Okay.
I'm interested to hear Richard's.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What
Yeah.
makes you different?
And we did meet in the women's restroom, and I just got to say you were super warm, and we're even hugging, and I was like, wow, because a lot of times, you know, people are busy, they need to get where they're going, and you truly do walk slowly through the crowd, and I really appreciated it.
If you want to see more of Kimmy's training content, she was selected to be one of the 60 speakers for the John Maxwell 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth and Network Marketing. Starts January 3rd. It's a 12-week course. Michelle and I got to be a part of it as well, and I'm fired up. That was pretty fun. Like that was top.
That was such a fabulous event.
Yeah.
Looking forward to seeing your training portion.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, Richard, your turn.
Oh, what makes me different? Geez. Well, I don't hold this necessarily as better. So I just know something that's authentic to me is my success is not more important to me than my integrity and my reputation
That's good.
and my relationships. And I find in our profession that I'm not sure most of the leaders are aware of it. They're probably not aware of it, but their blind ambition, it takes a hit on their reputation and their integrity. And because they probably just don't know it, but they're just kind of wired up to win at the expense of other people. And I think competition is one of the things that's sort of bred into us, programmed into us as especially Americans, that whether it's sports or it's business, that, you know, especially in network marketing, you know, if you just look at the landscape, it's, you know, who has the fastest growing company and, you know, who makes the most money and who built the biggest team and who got there the fastest. And none of that's ever been important to me. And originally it wasn't important to me because I just didn't want to be in the race, because I found that to the degree I'm addicted to the race, I lose myself and I lose what's important to me.
Wow.
And then what I started seeing in the landscape of business is how being in the race really undermined people's integrity and their authenticity and burned them out and created a really bad track record for them. I mean, if you just watch how many times people have said, you know, this is it, this is, you know, here's a place where you can find it the most often. You read a network marketer's resume, and what they tout in the like headline is built 7 different 6-figure groups. Really? You started over 7 times?
That'd be hard.
You made 6 really bad decisions about what company to join? You know, it's just not what it's should be all about. And so I've had a slower pace, and you know, I think some people probably criticize that, but it's good for me because it keeps me grounded.
Good.
Wow, that
So
was
good. That's
powerful.
very powerful. Yeah.
And the people are eating this up. They're dropping a bunch of comments. They liked that.
Yeah, because it is so true that I think a lot of the quick like the fast growth or the fast income to fastest to $1 million. It's just put on a pedestal a lot. So people think like, well, if I'm not getting that, and I've fallen into that before, because we know a lot of really like high income people in network marketing, and we haven't been at that level yet, and we've gotten, you know, oh wow, why hasn't it happened for us? And I think falling into that comparison game, sometimes people tell themselves, well, maybe this isn't for me if I can't do it as fast as other people. So I'm sure a lot of people really appreciate that perspective, especially because like looking at you now, you know, it's obvious that has all turned out just fine, you know, just taking the paced route to success, and you still have fulfillment, and you never had to sacrifice your integrity for it.
Yeah, I appreciate it, because you guys, to me, to Michelle and I, and I'm not blowing smoke, but you guys are some of the bigger names in network marketing. You guys have really paid your dues, and you still get up front and get on stage, and you know, people want to model what they see, and you guys are such an excellent model to follow with humility and integrity. And Michelle and I, we keep integrity is priority for us. I mean, we have a slogan around the house that, and our daughter's 2, she doesn't really get it yet, but we tell her, like, we want to live our lives in such a way that if somebody told a lie about it, nobody would believe it. And you know, having integrity is making those tough calls. Like, sometimes it costs you. Like, if it doesn't hurt occasionally, then you kind of need to check your integrity. So good stuff. All right. So my next question on here is, after sitting on calls, webinars, you know, we've been in trainings now for 9 years, and there's typically 2 topics. It's usually mechanics, what to say, how to do it, your company system. And then the other side of the coin is personal growth and development. Renew your mind, change the way you think. In your seminars, when you train, like, what do you find the most important topic is to cover? If you had, you know, one topic you could cover with these guys tonight, would it be some kind of script? Would it be something in personal growth? Would it be giving them another kiss? I don't know. What would it be that you guys would want to share about?
This is all because this is his specialty, and this is his magic, and this is really his gift to the world. So I want him to speak on this for sure.
Okay.
I better have an answer. Well, I think probably what Kimmy is thinking I would say, which is what I was going to say, is for me, everything rises and falls on self-motivation. And what I mean by that is the story that we not only tell ourselves, but that we have learned to believe about what's inevitable in any area of our life. And so if somebody is a believer about their company, their products, their build in this time and this opportunity, if they're a believer, and a believer such that, like this, like if Adam, if I was to, you know, approach you and Michelle, like I see you, and what's present when I see you is this story that, you know what, these 2 could make it. These 2 could knock this out of the park. These 2 could do really well at this. Mm-hmm. And they're going to appreciate me telling them about it. If that's the story, I'm going to talk to you. Mm-hmm. If the story is, I don't know, maybe the last 5 people I sponsored quit, they look busy.
Wow.
You know, I don't know them. What if they think I'm an idiot? What if they think if that's the story, the only way I'm going to talk to you is if I'm disciplined or committed or in some kind of accountability program, and then all I'm going to do is, like, I'm going to say something to you, which is not going to be very interesting at all. So I can check the box. Oh yeah, I talked to somebody today. Mm-hmm. So whether it's prospecting or the big picture of building an empire in network marketing or building relationships or anything we want to do in life, I think everything rises and falls on self-motivation, which is it's steeped in that story that we tell ourselves. And so an example that I use in some of my training is that, and there's a formula to back up this number, but if our companies paid us $500 to do a in integrity invite meaning it was a real invite. Like I really asked you, hey, this is what I'm doing. Might take you 10 or 15 minutes. Would you take a look? However I say it, that was pretty bad, but however I say it, if our companies paid us $500 to do that twice a day, in other words, we'd make $1,000 a day by inviting 2 people a day. How many times do you think in your company, if you're paid everybody $500 2 invites a day, how many times a day do you think you would hear whining, I don't know who to do?
Never.
At 500, who do you do?
Everybody.
Well, it's actually more powerful than everyone, because it's not everyone, Adam. If you only had to talk to 2 people a day, it's not everyone. It's anyone. And you wanted to. You pick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
That's good.
And then if all you had to do was invite people, you get paid no matter what you say, just as long as you invite somebody. And our definition of an invite is you get a response.
Yeah.
No or maybe. So you can't like blast a bunch of stuff out on Facebook, and those aren't invites. It's only invite if you get a response. How often would you hear, well, what do I say to them? You don't get paid to figure out what to say to them. You just get paid to talk to them.
It's good.
What do I do if they say no? You don't get paid based on that. You only get paid based on the invite. Doesn't matter if they say no. All of that stuff would go away and people would be wildly successful. Now, what's the difference between the opportunity our companies provide us and getting paid $500 a day? It's really people understanding that if they would talk to 2 people a day, every day, 5 or 6 days a week for a couple of years, and then just follow up on whatever mess they create.
Wow.
Be there for the mess. In year 5 or 6, they'd be making $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 a month.
Wow.
And if it's built in the right company with the right products, if you can call it residual income, you can take that monthly income and multiply it by 200. And that's what your business is worth. That's the asset value.
Wow.
Divide the asset value by the number of people you talk to over 2 years, $500 a piece.
Wow, that is just so profound.
That's so good. This replay, I'm gonna sell 500. No, I'm kidding. This replay is gonna be powerful because we're not taking notes right now, but we're gonna be going back through this audio.
Yeah, and just to let everyone know that topic of the geometric progression and all of that is in this book. And then if you want to know more about the self-motivating, and I know someone posted a question in here, but it's in your Mach 2 on your Hair on Fire, right? You talk all about that. And I've downloaded the audio. It's really awesome. The audio is really, really good too. So I know someone said, how do you self-motivate? So I know, you know, he was talking about belief. Yeah.
He'll be right back. And, you know, Mach 2 is a really powerful book to read to get your self-motivation, to find your self-motivation.
There we go.
He's such a jokester. This book is fantastic. It's in the midst of pre-launch because Richard has rewritten it, and it's a really powerful workbook format, kind of like my book. And so you get to go through this. I mean, it blows my mind when we tell people that if you read this book, you can create your own self-motivation, and they still don't read it. This book is so powerful that just by learning how to change your story and write a new story, you really can start to feel self-motivated. It's so much more simple than we make it out to be.
Yeah, definitely. We just make it so much more complicated because of all of our fears. And so I hope that answers your question.
While we're on the topic of books.
There's so many comments. I don't know where the question, but anyway, hopefully that does answer your question. The person that posted that is, you're just going to have to go through that workbook and see what your triggers are and how to rewrite your story to get that inner motivation going inside of you. So
while we're on the topic of your books, I was going to talk about this later, but this is a good time to talk about it. Can you both talk about, because people are going to go, if they haven't read this, oh, it's a book, I'll just read it. But there's a way to leverage this book, and there's a way to leverage it well for prospecting. Can you both speak on that? Maybe how it's different for women for this one. I mean, this one works for male or female, but you know, Kimmy, you just released this this month, last month?
Yeah, just a month, not even a month ago, maybe
a month ago.
So it's pretty exciting. And you know, the 4-year career, the one that Richard wrote, is an amazing tool. And I remember when I read it, and I immediately wanted to do my own custom edition because we were actually competitors when we met. And I was just so excited to be able to share a book that had my story and some of my leaders' stories in the same book. So I immediately ordered a custom edition. But I personally, and the great thing about the 4-year career, you guys, is just speaking to what Richard was talking about, people generally don't have a problem being enthusiastic about our products or your products or whatever products you're in love with. People don't have a problem being enthusiastic about the leadership of the company. It's generally the enthusiasm of network marketing itself. And so this book is a way to, it's maybe even you can hide behind the book a little bit because you share the book and you allow people to do their own discovery versus you trying to convince. And that's the beauty of the 4-year career. But the reason I got excited to write the 4-year career for women is actually I kept asking Richard, okay, next edition that comes out, could you make it a little more feminine? Could you make it a little more right brain? I'm really creative and visual. And would you just maybe, and he kept saying, yeah. And finally, one day, I just woke up and I said, honey, would you mind if I wrote the 4-year career for women? And so he was so generous, allowing me to share in the title. And, you know, the 4-year career for women actually doesn't only have to be for women, but it is a fabulous tool for women. And so for all of you women listening and all of you men who are talking to women, the great thing about the 4-year career for women is it will give you an exact idea if the person you're sharing the book with is a right fit for network marketing or not. If they simply fill out, and it's fun and it's funny and it's less than 45 minutes to read it, and by the end you will know, is network marketing right or not for your friend? Because there's nothing worse than trying to convince somebody that network marketing is right for them, and you may be the best convincer in the world, and you convince them and they join you and they do nothing. So our view is we would way rather have people educate themselves and learn and see if this is a right fit for them, and in turn join with enthusiasm and knowledge and understanding. And so they launched properly and they launched with success.
Yeah, this is good.
Awesome.
I love it because, you know, there's a lot to fill out and just a lot of introspection, guys. If you could see that.
Why isn't yours filled out, Michelle?
Yeah, Michelle, what's up with that?
Well, we've been working on our.
I'm using this as a tool.
We've been working on our new book. It's going to compete. It's the 3.5-year career. It's going to be out soon.
But you guys, let me say real quickly, my favorite part about this book when you're sharing it with friends is that on the very last page, there's amazing stories in the back of women, all different companies, generic, so it gives somebody belief in our profession. Yeah. And it dispels a lot of myths. Some people who have built huge organizations live in a town of 300. Some people live in a town of 10,000. And so all these ideas of, oh, well, I don't know anyone to talk to. There's a lot of objections that get handled in the book, but the great thing is at the very end, they get to write their own 4-year career story. And you guys all know the power of writing your own story. So that's my favorite part. And if you're sharing that book, you can say, hey, I'd love to see what you wrote. And now you know what their vision is and you can help them work towards that.
Yeah, super cute book. Love it.
Well, the original 4-year career is a little different tool than that. It's obviously more information based, and the motivation to create that book came from studying why people did not get involved in what I was doing, or did get involved and never did anything.
Wow.
So I've done this survey with lots of groups of people. So I think I even did this at GoPro with 4,000 or 5,000 people in the audience, and those are all leaders in their companies. And so you could try this survey out if you had a live crowd. You could ask, say you got 500 people in the crowd, and they're obviously the top tier distributors, or they wouldn't be at the event. At least not in income top tier, but in their intention, they're top tier companies, or they wouldn't be at the event. So you could ask, and even at a generic event, you could ask people, how many of you think you have the best products in the profession? You have extraordinary products, incredible, just amazing products. How many people would raise their hand at a GoPro event or a mastermind event? Everybody in the room would raise their hand. How many of you think you have the best company in the industry, the best management? Everybody would raise their hand. How about your compensation plan? How many of you think you got the highest paying compensation plan? Everybody would raise your hand. How many of you have recruited one person a month for the last 6 months? How many hands would go up?
Not everybody.
Yeah.
Crickets. Crickets would go up. And the reason for that is the problem. Here's what we're all selling. We're all selling our products. We're all selling our companies. And I got to tell you, products either resonate with a prospect or they don't. You know, they either want weight loss, they either want skincare, they either want nutrition, they want travel, they either want that stuff or they don't want it. And it's not a big deal about like, oh, our products are so much better than anybody else's. People are either going to resonate with your products and try them or they're not. When it comes to your company, I've never had anybody look at my corporate website and say, the reason I'm not joining your company, you guys don't know anything about building websites. You got a lousy management team. You know, I hate the fact that you're based in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. Nobody ever objects to the company.
Yeah.
What they object to is our business model.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wrote the 4-year career to address the elephant in the room. That people, they don't, and you can just watch a Super MLM episode and you can tell people don't like our business model, but they don't know anything about it. They think it's totally different than what it is.
Mm-hmm.
So the way I teach people to use the 4-year career is carry one with you at all times, have your contact information inside it. When you get in a conversation with somebody that leads to anything around money, anything that money can provide, you pull out this book, you pull out this book and you say, you know what, I'm reading this book that's teaching me how to. And the how-to is whatever your prospect needs to hear. You know, if they're a Kimmy 8 years ago, they need to hear about $500 a month.
Mm-hmm.
If it's a me right now, you want to get my interest in an income opportunity, you got to talk to me about $500,000 a year. I'm not going to divert any time or energy to making $500 a month, right? So you got to match the opportunity to who you're talking to in the moment. So you just tell people, I'm reading a book that's teaching me how to do this. And then you follow it with this simple question. And I've asked hundreds of people this question, and I've not once had somebody tell me no. If that were true, would you want to read about it?
Absolutely.
It's good.
Everybody says yes. So then you just do the simple, if I would you? So if I would loan you my book, would you read it in the next couple days? And if people say, yeah, I'll read it in the next couple days. And here's the magic in a book. When we send people a video or an audio or a webinar, they recognize it immediately as advertising. And everything we say in that company communication, they filter as advertising.
So
But we are programmed from birth that books contain truth and wisdom.
wow.
Even though it's not true, we're programmed that if it's in a book, it's not advertising. It's not propaganda. It's wisdom. It's truth. And so you take that psychological advantage and you apply it to the number one objection people have, which is not our products or our companies. It's our business model.
Yeah.
And lead with that instead of leading with products and opportunity. And obviously there's a time to lead with products. You know, if you're in a health company and you're talking to a triathlete, you probably don't whip out the 4-year career. Most conversations eventually lead to money. Yes, that's the biggest pain point for people.
That's so good. Wow.
That's really good. And I think usually you tell them not to read it, right? You say flip through it, or I folded a page, or
just look through it. Take you about an hour to look through it.
Yeah.
Look at pretty
Super fast
pictures.
read.
I'm just curious, when was your hair that long?
Well, I created the 4-year career as a concept in 1979 in Des Moines, Iowa, for a group of Drake University marketing students that I was trying to recruit.
Wow.
Wow.
With the idea of, what if you guys, during your 4 years of college, just invested 5 or 10 hours a week in building an asset income so that when you graduate, you already have financial freedom and you don't have to take the first job. You don't have to end up living in this city because somebody offered you a job. You don't have to end up working for a company that doesn't honor your values because they're the first one to offer you a job. How would your life be different if you didn't have to take a job out of college? Maybe you could travel the world. Maybe you could go live wherever you wanted to live. Maybe you could actually do something for a living that you were passionate about because you could afford to.
Yeah.
I didn't recruit any of them.
No?
Well,
a good idea.
I bet they're in your company somehow.
They're probably serving you at Applebee's or something.
Yeah.
We got 12 minutes. Oh my goodness. And we're like on question 2. All right. What do you got, Michelle? I got so much.
Yeah, I do ask a question about fear, but I just wanted to say also in this book, one of the parts that I thought was really eye-opening and I loved is how you could take the money, like the extra $1,000 that you make in your network marketing business on the 10 hours a week and use it to fuel investments. And so I was just like, oh my gosh, like why don't more people just do that? And it's all in here.
Talk about spending it.
Yeah, exactly. Talk about spending it. And so I just thought that was really amazing how you could just take that money and fuel your investments and get to that, you know, $1 million retirement nest egg a lot faster than, I mean, I don't know how people are doing it even now with just like what the return is and then just living expenses and all that. So powerful the way that like it's just framed for like people to actually look at network marketing in different ways.
So much good stuff here. Okay, this is probably one of our most passionate topics to talk about, and we feel like it's part of our calling, which is leading people to truth, to crush fear. Now, it could be fear of rejection, it could be fear of what people think, it could be fear of success, and that's why we did the poll on the webinar here. So I'd be, as a matter of fact, let's just see. So far, what do you fear most while building your business? 42% of the people watching this webinar right now are afraid of rejection. 21% fear what people think. 31% fear failure. 5% fear success. And so far, no one has honestly said that they've crushed fear. So I would assume you guys have dealt with some form of fear when you got started. Like, how'd you grow? How'd you overcome? Like, are you still dealing with it? Let's just get real for a couple minutes.
You know, I think for me, when it started, the fear of having to move in with my mom, the fear of showing my daughter that I was a failure, the fear of the life I had because I woke up every day saying I don't want to go to work and I felt it viscerally in my entire body. That fear was stronger for me than asking somebody to go to lunch.
That's so good.
So I just kept focusing on my daughter's face. And I think that's why it's so important for people to know why they're doing this. I mean, if you're like, you know, I just want to try it. Yeah, it looks great. Wow, those two, Adam and Michelle, they look great. They look neat. You know, that's not going to keep somebody going through those places, those points of fear. And so, but you know what's so amazing is that when you really stop and break apart your fear and you demystify the story that you make up about what's scaring you, it's actually kind of funny. Like I did a coaching call this morning with my friend and she had invited 3 people and she had made up a story that she was a terrible inviter. And so what we did was we broke down each invitation. And the first one was her neighbor, and the neighbor actually had to go to a lunch meeting. And I said, okay, so you're a bad inviter because your neighbor had to go to a lunch meeting. Do you see the disconnect there? So I think a lot of times it's really just actually breaking down this crazy story we tell ourselves, and we're so easily drawn to the negative, but really looking at, okay, why do I want to do this? What is important to me? And then being willing to just take that risk, even if it's a baby step. So, hey, if you're scared to pick up the telephone, get with one of your sponsors, mentors, trainers, coaches who can help you. Just do one phone call, just one, not 20, not, you know, there's nothing worse than giving somebody an assignment of too much where they just can't even do one little thing. So finding out that fear for people. So I can't see what your survey is, but what is the main fear of inviting?
Rejection.
Rejection. So if you ask yourself, okay, what's the worst possible thing that could happen to me if I got rejected by the one person? So not all the people who might tell me no, but just one. What's the worst possible thing that could happen? So let's see what people type in. What's the worst possible thing that could happen if somebody rejected you?
Has anybody on the webinar ever been stabbed or shot by an
Exactly. And you know what's so funny is it's like right now I'm in the midst of, you know, because I really believe in leading by example. I don't believe in asking my team to do anything I won't do myself. And so right now I'm really in a place of massively leading by example. So our group is focusing heavily on talking to people every day. And I think I've spoken and invited 40 people over the last 12 days. And I have not gotten a yes from everybody. There's a lot of silence. There's a lot of harvesting. There's a lot of seed planting. But people look at somebody like you two and they think it's easy for you. And the truth is it's no different for me or for you or for anybody. It's just being willing to actually go out and do it. Yeah. And then from there, you know, maybe you shift a little bit. Hey, that didn't work so well. So, wow, that was a terrible invitation. You know, I got to tell you guys, my worst invitation that I've ever done, it haunts me because we are all about being authentic. And, you know, one of the things that Richard and I believe wholeheartedly in, and he didn't go away, he's trying to get comfortable, where we didn't set up so well for the arrangement of talking with you guys. But you know, we believe wholeheartedly in telling people right up front that we are involved in network marketing. We don't play the riddle game. We don't say we're specialists in retirement, secret agents. We don't create a riddle that people have to say to us.
You're the secret agent.
We don't try to create a riddle that has somebody say, well, tell me what that is.
Right.
I have to say, you know, an embarrassing moment for me is I called a dear friend of mine because I was coming to LA. I invited her for lunch. I didn't tell her that I wanted to talk to her about my business. We got to lunch. I went right into my business and she felt bamboozled. And so I really learned from that mistake. So, hey, what can you guys do that breaks you through the fear? Be authentic, be honest, be upfront. And again, the people who are wanting to look are going to look, and the people who don't want to look aren't going to look. And I loved your question, Adam, about what's the worst thing that ever happened to you. Obviously, you didn't die. You guys are all still here. So just demystifying what scares you.
That's really good.
So good.
One, that was just excellent. And then two, you gave me chills when you talked about your daughter and just picturing her face every day, you know, and just having all of that drive you. And a lot of times I think people, like, we all sit in trainings and we say, well, what is your why? And I think sometimes people are so afraid to really tap into what's going to motivate them, because it's like, well, how about if it doesn't happen, you know? And it's like, well, you need to let that vulnerability come in into what really pulls your heart. And like when you were saying that, I just felt like I felt it from you, and it was just amazing. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm grateful for her because she really is why I've been successful. And where's your book, honey? Mach 2 really does help you get clear on your why. Mm-hmm. And people have a challenge, like you said, they do. They're challenged by it. And in the book, as you're getting clear about what's important to you, what your values are versus someone else's values, you really get to start thinking about, wow, what do I want to create? And why is this important to me versus what you hear everybody else telling you is good and important and should do's.
Mm-hmm. Good.
You got any fear nuggets?
Well, I think Kimmy covered it. I mean, for me, fear is simply a story. It's a vision. And we made that one up. And it's not one of the things that I've learned in pop psychology, which, you know, is part of this whole like personal development movement, is you don't get rid of negative thinking. You don't get rid of fear. It exists in a vacuum, and the vacuum is our mind. And so you don't just like tell it to go away. You don't just like say, oh no, I'm not going to listen to that anymore. You're going to listen to whatever is in the space. Mm. So the way you get rid of a story that does not serve you, like, oh my gosh, what if they say no? What if they think I'm an idiot? What if they think I'm a loser for doing network marketing? That's a story. And the only way you get rid of a story is to replace it with a different story. You have to push one out by pushing the other in. Something is going to possess the space in our mind. Some story is going to live there. There is no emptiness there. There is only a story. And we have a million of them based on every domain we can imagine ourselves being in. So, you know, if I'm going to go play golf, I have a story about how I'm going to play golf. We're sitting here on the 18th, you know, fairway. I usually hit a bad tee shot on the 18th fairway. When I step up on the tee box, that story, if I don't manage it, that's the story that's going to be there. I usually hit a bad shot on 18. And if I don't displace that story with a new story, it's going to be there. When you go to talk to a prospect, if you don't manage creating a new story, that fear story is going to be there. You got to push it out with a new story. That's what Mach 2 is all about. Vision, self-motivation is all about the story. And it's not hard to create a powerful new story. We're just not taught to do it. You know, we're taught to read, write, arithmetic, and compete, but we're not taught to manage our mind.
Wow, that's really good. So you mentioned it's in pre-launch again?
It is totally relayed out and modestly rewritten, updated, but you can't buy it yet.
Okay.
I think November 1st.
All right.
So it's 6:59, and I haven't asked my favorite question. Would you guys let me ask one more question?
Yeah,
Of
we got
course.
time.
Okay. So I apologize for those that are watching that I didn't get to your question because people sent in questions. But I think I like the deep stuff that we're talking about. So instead of like, how do I do a three-way call or whatever?
Yeah.
So I asked this question to people, to random strangers on planes. Michelle puts me in the middle because she thinks I'm a weirdo, so she can read on the aisle. But I'm going to phrase it a little bit differently. Let's say you could rewind and you're sitting here watching this webinar of you, your future rock star self, right? What advice, knowing what you know now, what advice would you give yourself, both personally but in professionally? So business, or it could be like life. So maybe from both sides of the coin. You're watching this webinar several years ago when you're just getting started in business, but it's you guys giving yourself the advice. Does that question make sense?
Yep.
Totally. I think for me, you know, people say, what would you have done differently? What would you have changed? I wouldn't have changed anything because every single step has led me to where I am right now. You know, had my company not been sold to a bigger company, I wouldn't have been thrown into Richard's arms and fallen madly in love with him. So, I mean, I really wouldn't change anything. Maybe the one piece for me, like I have fun in what I do, but for a while I was so on this crazy treadmill. I think I kind of lost sight of just enjoying the journey, and I was reaching for more, bigger paycheck, you know, being the best. And that really, like, of course I love to shine and I love to set an example, but more money and, you know, how much is enough? That was actually a question Richard asked me when we first had a coaching session, and I thought nobody's ever asked me that, and that is a really powerful question. So I think for me, it would be more to just enjoy the process and trust the process.
Trust the process. Enjoy the process.
That's both for life and business. That's so good.
Wow. So many things I could have done different, but like Kimmy said, you know, like one of the things that, you know, comes up for me is I can't count the number of times that in my career that if I would have had $100,000 cash or $1 million cash, the opportunities that I could have jumped on because I had the cash. And so, of course, I think, well, I should have saved more money. But then I wouldn't have all the experiences I have, you know, because the experiences cost money. And I don't know of too many people that lay on their deathbed and wish they would have saved more money or worked harder.
Yeah.
So I, like Kimmy, don't have any regrets. I took the long marital path to find Kimmy. And find Lanai. And so, you know, one thing that I do coach young kids on, like college kids or coming out of college, is, you know, the world is a big place and it's a beautiful place, and there's nothing wrong with your hometown where you grew up or where you went to college, or even the town in the company that offers you your first job. But what I would advise you to do is figure out a way to go see the country. And now what you can do, of course, is go online and you can narrow your search to the top 10 climates and economy and cultures and recreation places that honor and honor your value and call to you, and go see those places. Go spend a month or two in each of those places and find home. And, you know, I think for so many of us, home is where we grew up, and there's nothing wrong with that, but it might not lead to the most extraordinary life you could lead. And so I would say, go find home. And when you find home, then find family there, find career there, define your business there, build your life in that place that you call home. I just meet a lot of people that, you know, why do you live here? Well, because I grew up here. This is where I have a job. And yet they long to be somewhere else.
Yeah. And,
you know, Hawaii is just kind of a, you know, it's a classical example of, oh my gosh, if I could ever live in Hawaii, how amazing would that be? Well, why don't you? There's a lot of, there's homeless people that live in Hawaii. you can move to Hawaii. Kimmy built a sales organization of 20,000 people in 12 countries from living in Hawaii. So go find your bliss wherever it is. And, you know, and that's not a regret that I have for me, because it took me a while to find them. I found Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. I found Carmel, California, and I found Lanai. And these are bliss spots for me. And maybe if I have a regret, would be that I would have found those in my 20s instead of my 40s and 50s and 60s.
Wow.
For me anyway, I'm not saying it should be that way for other people. For me, where I live centers me, grounds me, gives me life, gives me energy, honors me. And as a young person, you can go anywhere in the world and fall in love with somebody and build a life and build a career. It doesn't have to be where you're stuck.
That's so good. I wonder about that when we've driven to Vegas for a few events, and we go through these little bitty towns, and I'm like, how do people live? Like, what do they do?
Well, the Foster Farms was in Chowchilla, right? Like Chowchilla.
Oh, Michelle, you're so astute.
Yes, good job, Michelle.
I grew up in Oakdale, California. You know where that is.
That's right down the road.
Yeah.
Carmel actually is one of our most favorite beaches, and it's just gorgeous there. So anyway,
you guys have been phenomenal. I want to ask one favor of the audience. It's supposed to be a surprise for you guys, but people don't always open up the emails. We got 4 of these webinars. You're our 3rd guest, and what I'm asking is, I want handwritten thank yous how Richard and Kimmy have impacted you guys. So I'm going to put a P.O. box for you guys. You're going to mail them to me. I'm going to get an address from them, and we're going to send them off, because, I mean, what do you give somebody who's had the success they've had? But what you can give them is appreciation. You can give them gratitude, and I would really appreciate it if you guys would just do some handwritten notes and just take some time to, while it's fresh in your mind tonight, put what's impacted you, put it in the mail tomorrow. And I'm so grateful that you guys were able to pour into this community, this group. A lot of, these are people from different companies, from different parts of the world. Some are just getting started. Some are 6-figure earners. In fact, some are company executives. I know one of the guys on here is a mutual friend of ours, Al Rodriguez. He lives in Houston. And yeah, and I don't know if he's on here catching the replay, but some of these questions were his that I didn't get to.
Well, Al could just email, and Al already knows the answer to him anyway.
Yeah. So other than that, I'm going to put the P.O. box. Michelle, do you want to close us out?
Yeah, I just appreciate so much. This was a really deep webinar, and I think everybody loved it. And man, just thank you for your time. We know you're busy, And
Sorry, I get to my head.
what time is it there anyway? It's like still light.
It's only 4 o'clock here, and I just want to say you guys are so awesome. Thank you for what you're doing for the profession, because we do believe that a rising tide lifts all boats, and you guys are clearly helping to change the way people do business, and we greatly appreciate that.
Yeah, your book, Don't Be That Guy, that's a book that needed to be written 70 years ago in our profession, and had it been written and promoted, our profession could have turned out totally different.
Keep going. Keep going.
Well, I'm serious. It's a great title, but more importantly, it's the right subject matter. And if you think about it, imagine this is a vision that Kimmy and I hold for the work that we do with people. Imagine in the next 70 years if we could turn the tide on what people understand about our business. And it's not just knowledge, it's how they're treated. So what if in the next 70 years, everyone that was prospected in our profession was prospected with transparency and honor and dignity and authenticity? Imagine a world where somebody's building a network marketing organization 10 years from now or 20 years from now, and most of the people they approach, their response is respect, admiration, trust. Yeah. Network marketing. I know lots of people that, yeah, I get it. Maybe it's not for me right now. Maybe it's not a time in my life. Maybe your products don't resonate with me. But imagine if most people you talk to, their response was, who you were speaking to was, they got it. They may not be in it. They may not be ready for it now, but they get it. Imagine the explosiveness we could have as a profession. We're fighting a headwind that was set in place for the last 70 years. And you guys have done great work, great book to shift that. Everybody in our profession needs to read your book.
If I could get you to post that on an Amazon review, I'd kiss you, brother.
Done.
Done. Oh, yes. Come on.
I'll do a video for you. I'll do an Amazon review. I'll do a webinar. I'll do a funnel. We'll put people in a funnel and spin their head off, and they'll own 20 copies before they even know what happened to them.
Man, I got all this on tape. You guys are awesome. I love you guys. I genuinely love you and appreciate you. And I put the P.O. Box, guys, in the comments. It's P.O. Box 171, Orangevale, California, 95662. Don't be that guy that doesn't show no gratitude and send no card.
Yeah.
So love you guys. I'm gonna go ahead and end the webinar, and we will see you guys soon. Okay.
Awesome.
Okay. Bye bye. Love the Hawaiian music. That was a good touch.
Good touch.
Bye bye, guys.
God bless you.